Paper sizing. What's the difference between unsized papers, minimally sized papers, and heavily sized papers? Why? What's the reason for it? Well, it depends on the medium. I mean, for instance, if you're doing a print on an intaglio print or an etching print, you want to make sure that the paper surface has minimal surface sizing or no sizing at all, internal as well as external. Um, because when you etch a plate and then you ink a plate and you're taking that particular paper, whether it be a Somerset, whether it be a Reeves, whether it be an Arch, whatever the printmaking paper is that you're using, or Stonehenge for that matter, you want to make sure that that paper has the ability to absorb the ink from that plate to give you an incredible crisp and beautiful image on the surface of the sheet. Um, Compare that to watercolor papers. Why are watercolor papers sized? What's the reason for the sizing? Well, the reason is quite simple. Whether it be a synthetic sizing or whether it be animal gelatin sizing, it doesn't matter. You want, as a watercolorist, you want that color that you're putting down on the surface to hold out, to not to be quickly absorbed into the sheet of the paper. If it was an unsized paper, if you did a watercolor on, and I'm not saying that you can't do it, if you do a watercolor on, say, Somerset, whether it be or Reeves BFK or regular Arch cover, you're going to have the watercolor absorb into the sheet, and it's going to be a very flat, very flat look that you're going to get to your artwork, as opposed to a watercolor paper that has a good amount of surface sizing that will give you pop. That the color will not absorb into the sheet; it will hold out, and it'll give you incredible results. The texture of a sheet. How does one do that? How does a mill put a certain cold press texture or a rough texture, or even in embossing? How is that done? Well, it's obviously done on the machine, and it can be done off the machine, but most likely it's done like with watercolor papers and printmaking papers. It's done on the machine by virtue of a felt mark or a blanket that literally kisses the wet stage of the paper and leaves an impression, or leaves almost, if you will, it's not really an embossment, but it can leave a subtle embossment and mark on the surface of the sheet. And that's how you get texture to your variety of papers, whether it be Somerset texture or whether it be Arch rough or Arch cold press or Somerset